From downtown Decatur, it's the Faber Files. Hello, I'm your host, Bill Faber. Because democracy demands debate, we present this program. And tonight we feature a real debate, the debate between the two Democratic candidates for Macon County State's Attorney. The candidates are Steve Langhoff and Jay Scott. Both are experienced and well qualified to serve. In a moment, they will introduce themselves. First, here are the rules for the debate. Each candidate will give a 2-minute opening statement. Then there will be a series of questions, and the first candidate will have 2 minutes to answer, the second candidate 2 minutes to reply, and then the first candidate will be given a 1-minute rebuttal time. At the close of the questions, each candidate will have a chance to present a 2-minute closing statement. I will serve as the moderator, so let's get started. The first opening statement will be Attorney Jay Scott.
Well, thank you, Bill, first of all, for hosting this debate. The state's attorney is the chief law enforcement officer in the county. Our office is the largest law office in the county, so it's an important decision that the voters have to make. I'm running on my experience, my qualifications, the things that I've accomplished over the years. I've been a prosecutor for more than 24 years. I started out back in 1987 up in Monmouth, Illinois. I was there for a year handling traffic, DUI, juvenile, misdemeanor cases. I came to Macon County in 1988. I started out 3 years in the juvenile division, then 4 years as supervisor of the misdemeanor division. Then I became a felony prosecutor. After 2 years later, I became the lead prosecutor of the felony direct prosecution unit for 10 years, and I have 5 years experience as the first assistant. I handle office administration, I supervise all the other attorneys, I make the decision on most felony arrests, whether or not our office is going to prosecute. I work with the police on the investigation of major cases, and I handle first-degree murder cases. I've prosecuted pretty much every type of case that comes through the door at our office. I've done 20 first-degree murder trials, the first one dating back to 1989. One of those was a Slover case, which is probably the most complicated murder trial ever held here in Macon County. Experience is important in any position. I think that's just common sense, but that's especially true when we're talking about the chief law enforcement officer in the county. Decisions are made in our office every day that affect people's lives, whether it's a suspect or a defendant or the victim or the county as a whole, because what this all boils down to is a matter of public safety.
Thank you very much, Jay. Now we'll hear from Steve Langhoff.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for letting me be here and debate, Jay. My name is Steve Langhoff, and I have been an attorney for 15 years. I have a wide variety of experiences. I've been a private practice attorney. I've practiced in civil law. I have been a hearing officer for the state of Illinois, being a staff attorney and a hearing officer with the Illinois Pollution Control Board. I've been a public defender here in Macon County for 4 years, working for John Baxter, and most recently I was an assistant state's attorney at the state's attorney's office here in Macon County. Like I said, I have a wide variety of legal experience. The office of the state's attorney is one of the most important local offices that the public gets to say who they want to vote for. The office of the state's attorney handles a variety of cases. It's not just the criminal justice system, although that is the largest part. We have juvenile abuse and neglect, juvenile cases. We have civil cases where the state's attorney represents the citizens of Macon County when we're being sued. The state's attorney also advises county office holders. I've had experience doing all of those things. I'm running for change. I'm running for change because of the way that we handle our felony filing system here in Macon County. Lately, it's been reported that Macon County is the #1 county in the state of Illinois for felony case filings per capita. Yet we don't have the highest crime rate. The newspaper just came out with ratings for Sangamon County and Springfield being the 3rd dangerous city in the country. We need to use diversion and deferred prosecution programs more, evidence-based practices in low-level, low-risk situations, especially with first-time offenders.
Thank you, Steve. Now we can turn to the questions. The first question will be for Jay. Jay, some people describe the state's attorney as the chief law enforcement official, while others say the state's attorney is the people's lawyer. But a lot of people don't know what the role of the state's attorney is How do you view the role of the Macon County State's Attorney's Office?
Well, obviously, we are the people's attorney here in the county. We are the chief, the state's attorney is the chief law enforcement officer in the county. The overwhelming majority of the cases that we handle deal with criminal violations, and it can be anything from traffic all the way up to homicide cases. And so you have to have, it's my view that if you're going to have a state's attorney, he's got to know the whole job, not just part of it. Experience is very important. If you have to advise the assistants as to how to do their job, you have to know how to do their job. And as I said earlier, I've done basically every job that there is in the state's attorney's office. So if we don't have a strong leadership in our office to work with the police and to guide the assistant state's attorneys, we have a lot of serious crimes that happen here in Macon County. And if you notice, our office is doing well. If you follow the news, we're winning some of these very serious crimes. Our office is strong. We're in the best position we've been in now in my 23 plus years with the office as far as our success in prosecution. And one other stat that Mr. Langhoff didn't mention was per capita, we send more people to DOC than any other county in the state. So we're doing a good job. And we need to keep good prosecutors in that office doing a good job from the bottom to the top. And if the person hasn't done all those positions, it's hard to tell the lower attorneys how to do their job.
Thanks, Jay. Steve?
Actually, it's both. It's certainly both. The state's attorney is the people's lawyer because there is a lot of situations that come up that people don't think about where the state's attorney is representing the people of Macon County here in circuit court. We have lots of cases where the county gets sued. It could cost us lots of money. I have experience doing those kind of cases. I have experience representing and advising the county office holders as well. I have experience in the criminal justice system as well from both sides of the aisle. Yes, Chief Law Enforcement Officer is the title of the state's attorney. That is the most important part, in my opinion, of the state's attorney's office. Yes, public safety is an incredibly important part of that job. Yes, we are doing a good job on the high-level cases, but we can do more. We can have more professionalism in the office. We can have more efficiency in the office. I'm talking about cases that are being filed in the Macon County State's Attorney's Office that are ultimately dismissed. How much time do I have?
Yeah, a minute.
Okay. I'm talking mostly about the domestic violence unit. In 2008, 2009, and 2010, there were approximately 60% cases dismissed that were filed, 50% and 50% in those 3 years. I'm talking about public safety, yes, but more importantly, we have to think about us as a community. When we elevate low-level, low-risk offenses like misdemeanor retail thefts into burglaries, and we have burglary convictions, place these people on probation, we're not helping our community out. Our statistics are skewed, and they're showing Macon County is one of the most dangerous places to live, one of the felony capital of Central Illinois. And when I talk to people on the streets, they don't want that. They don't want that. We know it's not true because of the recent FBI statistics, like I mentioned earlier. It is both. You wear many hats as the state's attorney, and ultimately you have the ultimate discretion on what happens in our criminal justice system and what happens while you represent the people in Macon County.
Thank you. Next question for you first, Steve. Our community lives in difficult times. Little money, but plenty of crime. What changes, if any, will you bring to the Macon County State's Attorney's Office, and why?
Well, there's several things that I would do. As we know, Macon County's population has relatively been the same for the past 20 years or so. The office's budget of the state's attorney has kept increasing. We have more assistants now than we have ever had before. We need to look at how we handle the cases. Again, it all goes back to that charging decision. To me, that's the most important decision that the state's attorney's office can make. What I would do is I would implement written policies across the board, written policies regarding charging cases, how cases are handled, when cases can go to deferred or diversion programs, and I would use any means available using evidence-based practices, these newfangled statistically studied programs that have been shown to reduce crime and reduce costs. I would be open to using all of them. We have them throughout the juvenile justice system that we can use. Other counties are using them. We need to bring them here to Macon County and make more use of them. We need to keep some people out of our prisons. Our prisons are overcrowded. Our jail is overcrowded. And many of these cases that are filed, we need to be dealing with in alternative ways. And these ways will save us money, and it will make our community safer because these people won't come back a second time.
Thank you. Jay, the changes you would make?
Well, I'd just like to point out that some of the changes Mr. Langhoff mentions, we've had in place for years in our office. Diversion program, I set up the first diversion program in our office in 1992. I established the first deferred prosecution program in 1995. I was the head of the committee that set up our first drug court beginning in 1997. We have mental health court that's in place right now. We have what's called Adult Redeploy Illinois, where the state gives us money to work with offenders in the community rather than sending them to prison so that we bring the numbers down. So these aren't novel ideas. These are things that some of them we've been doing for the last 20 years. As far as change, our office doesn't need change. Our office is good, it is strong. We have great employees, both prosecutors and staff people. They work very hard, sometimes for a lot less money than what they can make in the private sector. So we need to keep it strong. We need strong leadership to do that, somebody that's experienced in that position. So changes, I would like to introduce a gang prosecution unit, have a zero tolerance policy on criminals that use or possess guns, have an elderly victims crime unit, and also to increase the involvement of our office with community groups and organizations, because that's how we'll be able to better do our job, by getting the feedback from the community.
Thank you. Next question for you first.
Do I get to rebut that?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Did I give my rebuttal the last time?
No, I missed it.
How do you want to do that?
Go ahead.
You want to just
Please,
move
no,
to
go ahead, give your rebuttal.
Why don't we just move on?
Want to move on to the next question? Very
To be
good.
fair.
Okay. Jay, the next question for you then. The state's attorney decides the charges to be brought against a citizen. For example, under the same circumstances, a state's attorney would have the power to charge a felony battery or a misdemeanor battery. Some lawyers and people feel that the Macon County State's Attorney overcharges the crimes. Well, how do you respond to that?
I totally disagree to that. There are many instances. I do all the felony charging except for domestic violence and sex crimes. They all come across my desk, so I know what's going on in the community. A lot of times we'll get a felony aggravated battery arrest, and the way I look at it, if nobody really got hurt or this person isn't just a terrible repeat offender, we're looking at charging just a misdemeanor offense. Now, we don't overcharge. Mr. Langhoff mentioned charging a shoplifting as a burglary. Well, if a person gets arrested for that offense and they've never been in trouble before, I don't charge them with a burglary. They go to misdemeanor court, or they go to diversion and keep completely out of the system. If it's a person who's shoplifted 3 or 4 times and they then commit a shoplifting that qualifies as a burglary, yes, they're going to get charged as a burglary. If we have people that are ripping off the stores that cost all of us more money, if we look the other way and say we're just going to keep charging you with a misdemeanor, that's not good for the public, because it costs all of us money. The merchants have to buy theft detection devices. They have to have security people. So no, we need to prosecute those types of people. If a person's never been in trouble, yeah, we give them a break. But if they keep committing crimes, no, I think that's the short-sighted to look at it that way, to say we're going to charge all these cases as misdemeanors. That doesn't protect the public.
Steve?
Bill, back to your earlier question with regard to change. What I would change is the way that we do use these alternative programs, these evidence-based programs. I would use much more of them. I would have more and more people involved in these programs, because it will reduce the strain on the caseload, felony caseload in Macon County. Yes, I do believe in some circumstances the Macon County State's Attorney does overcharge individuals. The perfect example is a woman went in, committed a retail theft at Cub Food. She stole $8.96 worth of food, including 3 cans of Bumblebee tuna, a box of crackers, a box of spread, and some 7-Up. She was charged. She said that she went into the Cub Food to steal. She was charged not with a misdemeanor retail theft, not with a retail theft with a prior, which is a felony as well, because she had no prior retail thefts, I believe. She was charged as a burglary. She pled to that burglary. She's now placed on probation for 18 months and has over $900 in court costs. That's not an issue of public safety. To me, that is overreaching. the ultimate ethical obligation is to seek justice, not merely seeking to convict. In that case, I would most certainly use either a diversion program, a misdemeanor theft, or, if eligible, and this was a horrible repeat offender, a retail theft with a prior. I've talked to many of the attorneys in the community. I've talked to citizens in the community, and what I'm hearing is, yes, we're charging too many cases. The felonies, we're the #1 county in Macon County for felony case filings, yet we're number 72 in misdemeanor case filings, which is much lower than half. There's 102 counties. So in my opinion, it's just a fundamental difference of opinion I have with Mr. Scott, is that we're overburdening our felony case system with these cases when we can deal with them in other ways that are more cost effective and still promote public safety.
Thank you. Your rebuttal, Jay?
If we want to talk about handling cases outside the court system with the diversion programs, those are programs designed, the diversion program and the deferred prosecution, for nonviolent first-time offenders. And yes, it's appropriate to send them. Like I said, I set up both of those programs. But the only way to expand that would be to put repeat offenders into those programs. And that's not what they're designed for. That is a soft-on-crime approach. I'm totally opposed to that. I'm totally in favor of giving a person a break, but if they keep violating the law, they're not going to be given the benefit of going through a diversion program. That's when they need to be prosecuted. And if we have a philosophical difference, that's just the way it's going to have to be. And as far as attorneys saying we overcharge, we must be talking to a different group of attorneys, because I don't get that feedback at all from the attorneys or from the people in this community, and they're the people that count.
Next question, I think we begin with Steve. Steve, July 1, the state of Illinois abolished the death penalty. As prosecutors, both you and Jay worked under a system when the death penalty was available. How often did you seek the death penalty, or how do you feel about its repeal?
Well, I've never worked on a death penalty case, although I was death penalty qualified, as well as several attorneys in the office. Thank goodness that I never had to deal with that issue. The fact of the matter is that the death penalty has been repealed, so it is no longer a consideration that the state's attorney can make. I believe that there are certain circumstances when it may be appropriate, if it was the law, to seek the death penalty. I think perhaps it may have been overused in some circumstances, but there are certain circumstances where I don't see how you can get away with that without using that, as it's a tool, and we have to send a message on some of these cases that we just won't stand for it. It's no longer an option, so it's off the table. Some of the examples I would give you would be the John Wayne Gacy kind of cases and things like that.
Jay?
I've done 4 death penalty cases during my career. I believe there were abuses in the death penalty system. Some of the counties to the north of us, I think there were some problems that got cast upon everybody else, and that's why we no longer have the death penalty. I am in favor of it in certain cases. I think one of the big problems we had was our statute got to where it would include basically any type of a murder. You could argue that it's going to fall somehow in a death penalty. I think if we're going to have a death penalty, it needs to be more limited. But I am in favor of it. The ones that I had involved killing of a police officer, or people that have been convicted of first-degree murder before, or their record was just horrendous. And there were people that, yes, I do believe the death penalty was appropriate for them. Were there abuses in the system? Yes. But with capital litigation, I was qualified for capital litigation in the very first class of people that went through that. There was a lot more education. I think, again, experience plays into that, because if you have some of these prosecutors that may not be as experienced trying some of these cases, they don't know what they should be looking at, and some abuses came out of that. But there is a place for the death penalty, I believe. We no longer have it, so as Mr. Langhoff said, it's not an option, it's nothing we can seek, and it's kind of a moot issue at this point.
Steve, a rebuttal? The criminal justice system appears to be overloaded, so it uses a tool called plea bargaining. Many people criticize its use. How do you employ plea bargaining, and what do you say to its critics?
If some people the term plea bargaining has kind of a negative connotation to it. People in the public say we shouldn't be plea bargaining. It is a fact of what we do. It's something that we have to do. We're filing right now, I believe, in the order of 1,800 felony cases a year. Some of those could have multiple defendants on them. We only have so many prosecutors. You have to, in all but the most serious cases, we make an offer. And it's an offer that we believe is appropriate for the crime that was committed. And if a person accepts responsibility, they may get a little bit less if they come in and talk to us about it. But we can't try every case. I've done hundreds of trials in my career, but every case, I've had thousands of cases assigned to me. So you don't give cases away, but you also have to judge what you think the person's going to get from the judge. If he was to go and get convicted at trial, or if he was to come in and plead without any agreement, you have to look at it and say, well, he's likely to get 6 years, so I'm going to offer him 6 years. That's a plea bargain. So you can't say we're not going to plea bargain cases. If you're going to take cases and just sell them out and not try to get an appropriate sentence, that's inappropriate. I don't do that. I don't believe anybody in our office today does that. So it's a part of what we do. We try cases, we plead cases out. Sometimes we have to dismiss cases because they fall apart. Every attorney's had a case where that happens. So that's what plea bargaining is.
Steve, your response?
The system just doesn't work without plea bargaining. It's a necessary evil. There's just too many cases. There's not enough time. There's not enough judges. I think we need to use effective use of the plea bargaining tool. I think it has to be the carrot and the stick approach. The carrot approach being you can get some leniency if you admit your guilt, and this is what you're looking at, and this is a much better offer for you. This is a way to go. This can save time and money because we don't have to have the jury trials. We don't have to have the endless appeals. So yes, plea bargaining is here to stay, and it is part of the system. On the other hand, I think on the more serious crimes, especially the gun crimes, we shouldn't be given lenient plea bargains. We should be holding those people responsible, and we should be putting them out of our community for as long as we can. There was a recent plea bargain in the paper. An individual was on probation, committed a residential burglary, and it was caught on tape, and he was given a plea bargain, 6 years with boot camp. To me, residential burglary is a serious crime, and we may want to look at how we do those kind of pleas. I think the minimum maybe, since he was a youngster, might have been more appropriate, but we have to be very careful on the plea bargains. We can't give away everything. At the same time, we have to encourage cases to be resolved, and that's the plea bargain is the way we do it, just like the settlement is the way we do it in the civil cases.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Time is going so quickly. It's now time for our closing comments, and I believe the close first goes to you, Steve.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Bill, for letting us be here and give a chance to air our views. As I stated earlier, I have a wide variety of experiences. The Office of the State's Attorney isn't necessarily who's had more trial experience. It's who's a better manager of funds and manager of people. I promise to put my stamp of professionalism and efficiency on the office. How I will do that is with written procedures. I will institute written procedures. I will also institute employee reviews every 6 months. Accountability is an important part of the office too. We have to be accountable to the public when they request information, but also they shouldn't have to ask us for the information. I've been asking what are the statistics at the State's Attorney's Office in regard to convictions, and it's just not kept. I promise to keep track of the statistics and give a report card and tell the citizens of Macon County how we're doing and what we are doing in the office. I also will continue to represent the people of the state of Illinois here in Macon County by giving advice to our office holders, because their decisions that they make can have a direct impact and consequences financially on the citizens of Macon County. And I will continue to work hard to represent the citizens of Macon County in the best manner possible. Thank you.
Jay?
Thank you again, Bill, for doing this. I have experience both in the trials. I have experience in office administration for more than 5 years. I have a total of 19 years in a supervisory position in the state's attorney's office. I've been there fighting in the trenches, for almost a quarter century for the rights of crime victims and for public safety. The endorsements that I've received so far I'm very proud of. I have the endorsement of our current State's Attorney Jack Ahala, former State's Attorneys Jeffrey Davison and Larry Fichter. I have the endorsement of our current Sheriff Tom Schneider, as well as former Sheriffs Dawson, Walker, Holzapfel, and Fisher. I have the endorsement of 3 former City of Decatur police chiefs. The current chief can't make any endorsements, so I don't have his, but I have the endorsements of the chiefs of police of every other law enforcement agency in Macon County. And overall, I have endorsements of law enforcement from here in Macon County, both police and prosecutors. And if you add up all of their years of service, those supporters have more than 5,000 years of law enforcement experience. And I've got a complete list of them on my website, jscottstatesattorney.com. I'd invite everybody to take a look at the website. There's a lot of information there. I also have the endorsement of the victims of some of the cases that I've handled over the years. I was humbled by some of the things they had to say about the job that I've done and the difference that I made in their life over the last 24 years. In my view, these endorsements of people that know about the criminal justice system and know about the job that I've been doing there for the last 24 years speaks a whole lot more effectively than anything either of us can say. I would welcome the opportunity to continue serving the people of Macon County as our next state's attorney.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. And I would just like to mention to our audience the importance of the position of the Macon County State's Attorney's Office. In my view, it is the most important and powerful law enforcement job and position in our county. And we're very lucky to have 2 well-qualified attorneys running for the position who will eventually well serve our community. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
and I know that people really enjoyed learning your views.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.